Today I want us to look at a passage in Acts chapter 17. In this chapter, the Apostle Paul is on his second preaching tour, where he was going around and visiting different cities and preaching the gospel. And in Acts chapter 17, after being run out of town in Thessalonica, he came to Berea. And there's something interesting said about the people in Berea and their response to Paul's message in Acts chapter 17 and verse 11. It says there, "Now these were more noble-minded than those in Thessalonica, for they received the word with great eagerness, examining the scriptures daily to see whether these things were so." We see a couple things about the people here in Berea. One was that they received the word with great eagerness. They were interested in hearing what Paul had to say. But at the same time, while they were interested, they wanted to hear what Paul had to say, that wasn't the end of it. It's not really commendable just to be eager to hear just anything and just accept what anyone has to say. They were eager to listen, but then it says they were examining the scriptures daily to see whether those things were so. They had a regular practice of looking to the Word of God, of reading what the Word of God says, and that's important. We need to have a regular practice of reading the Bible. But this wasn't just casual Bible reading. It wasn't just looking at what the Word of God says because they were curious about what was in it. They were wanting to find the truth. They were taking what Paul said and they were checking if what he was saying was true. So they were eager to listen to Paul, but then they took his message and they ran it through the scriptures to see if what he was saying was true. That's what we need to be doing today. We don't need to just be eager to listen to anyone who might be teaching something that they claim to be from God and just accept whatever they say. No, that's not noble-minded. To be noble-minded is to eagerly listen, but then before we accept anything, we check what the Word of God says. We make sure that is true. We are not to just accept anything that someone says. We're not just to assume that, well, since this person is a preacher or a minister or whoever it might be, that, well, he must be someone I can listen to. We don't need to do that. Don't just accept anything that is said as true without checking for yourself. Don't just take what I'm saying and say, well, Andy's saying this, so it must be right. No, don't take what I'm saying without checking it first. Check to see what the scriptures say. Now, if there was anyone who may have been given the benefit of the doubt as say, well, we can at least trust what he says, we might say the Apostle Paul was that. He was one who was sincerely following the Word of God and went from town to town, despite the persecution, preaching the gospel. But the Bereans, they still checked what he had to say, and they were commended for examining the scriptures daily to see whether those things were so. So that's our challenge. Our challenge is to check the scriptures, to search the scriptures daily, to see whether what we are being taught is so. Is what I'm teaching the truth? Is what the preacher where you attend church services, is that person telling you the truth? Some message that you read online or read in a book or watch a video, is that person telling you the truth? The only way to know that is by going to the scriptures. It's by looking to what the Word of God has to say. So we need to get into that practice, into that habit, searching the scriptures daily to see what is true. And then once we find what is true, we need to accept it, not because I say it or someone else says it, but because the Word of God says it. So let's be noble-minded like the Bereans. Let's examine the scriptures daily to see what is true. And then finding what is true, let's believe it and practice it.